fashionably late to the party. This teaser came out like 8 hours ago. I apologize. There's a reason for it. I won't get into it, but I apologize for the delay. However, since there's already a delay, I figured let's make some slides. Let's do a little bit of extra effort. Why not? We have a new unit coming to the game confirmed for May. So it's going to come out in the next 3 weeks. Hopefully sooner rather than later, but we don't know. Maybe not the first thing that came to my mind, but one of the things that came to my mind when I saw this, I was like, 7-year scrolls. Spent all those 7-year scrolls. Would love to have some of these mages in the 7 years. I don't even know what they do yet, but I'm pretty excited because based on what I think that they might do, they seem like they may be pretty exciting units, so we'll get into that in a second. But I wish we saved more 7-year scrolls so that we could have... There's a new event, though. There's a new event. Let's take a look at this. We'll take a look at the teaser in a second. I already have it pulled up. But there's a new event where you get some more 7-year scrolls. That could be nice if they cross over where you can actually use the 7-year scrolls to potentially summon the mage. So it seems like you should be able to, but who knows. So this is the new mage. I guess this is the dark version of the mage. I have some, like I said, I have some slides. Stay tuned for the new monster mage. We'll be back with the update news soon. I feel like there are going to be more things in an update, not just the mage. So we'll kind of see what there is aside from that in the update. There's also Lucky Box event. So this Lucky Box event is actually, I believe it's 22, if I recall correctly. 22 more 7-year scrolls, and I think there's two summons worth of summon stones, right? You just basically enter scenario, Kairos dungeon, arena, world arena, guild cons. It's the same as the other, like every other event for the past years and years and years and years and years, right? You get the keys, use the keys for these fun things. There's also Devilmon Reappraisal Stone, 6-star legendary rune, legendary artifact. I don't get excited about these legendary artifacts. I really don't. 5-star Rainbow Mon are waiting for you. I feel like I get excited about the 5-star Rainbow Mon. Some other people are like, I don't even buy those from Guild Shop. I'm like, why? It's a free 6-star every month. You don't have to farm scenario. And then they're like, but I like to farm scenario, because if I don't farm scenario, then I just... or if I farm scenario, then I don't have to farm Dragons B12. I'm like... Anyway, we have... I don't know why I thought it was 22. There's 20 here, right? So 20 more special scrolls, 7-year special scrolls available here, and then some other stuff. Let me pull up the teaser. I'm sure you guys have seen the teaser by now, but let me pull up the teaser anyway. When I click the number, it actually starts. It skips to a certain time of the video. Anyway, here's the teaser for the mage. Let's take a look at it. I'm sure you've already taken a look at it before. We're going to nitpick it. We're going to make a 7-hour video. So it's just like a little mage shack. I wonder if they'll make this a new building in the game, right? We see it's a little... I was going to say Harry Potter mage kind of... It's not a Harry Potter mage kind of shack, right? But we really don't see too much here. It feels like this would be an opportunity for them to put a mage-type building. I'm curious if they put a mage-type building, but it actually like has some kind of other use. I'm basing this on nothing, right? There's no actual thing that they said like, oh, we're going to put a mage-type building, and you're going to be able to craft these new things with the mage building. I mean, it would be interesting to see if that actually is a thing, right? Because they did kind of mention a little bit about this mage house thing, but it would just be curious to see if they actually put a new building or if this has something to do with a new building, right? I don't really see too much crazy stuff here. I see a little yeah, there's really not too much to nitpick and to try to, Detective Bagel into this. Guys, like, what? We waited so long for Detective Bagel, and you're telling us there's guys, these candles, I'm pretty sure if you light the candle and then you sit on it, you will have an increased chance of summoning a Nat 5 based on... that's probably not the situation, right? So anyway, yeah, I really don't see too much aside from the fact that I feel like it may be interesting if we see a new building, right? That's kind of what I got from this. So I also see one of these little dudes. I shared I got a little thing over there. How descriptive. I got a little thing over there. So here is the mage. Here's another thing on the mage. This guy is kind of interesting, though. I'm curious if we actually see him being some kind of use in the skills or skill animations, because there's some crows, and I feel like if there were just random crows and it was just like, oh yeah, you know, directing the art team to just like put some crows in it, they'd probably just put some regular crows, but it seems like he's got a little bit of extra character. He's got like this little skull mask or whatever on it. I'm like, maybe we see some of him in the skills. I'm not entirely sure. So there's also another thing here. It says, the day the grimoire opens, I'll come for your soul. So the grimoire is basically the Mage book. It says, this is the definition of grimoire. A textbook of magic, typically including instructions on how to create. Harry Potter fans are going to be like, let me explain, or Magic fans are going to be like, let me explain exactly, Bagel, you're wrong. Let me explain exactly in the comments what grimoire, you got it wrong, even though it's literally the definition. How to create magical objects like talismans and amulets, how to perform magical spells, charms, divination. So we can kind of take a look at this and be like, okay, maybe maybe it's nothing. Maybe they just like, okay, we're translating from Korean. We don't know what the name of the magic book is. Let's just refer to it as as the grimoire, right? But I'm kind of interested. Also, this is capitalized. Now we're detective bageling, right? This is capitalized. So I feel like this is a thing that we maybe need to focus on, that this has something to do with like what is going to, I mean, obviously they're mages, they're going to use their spell books, but I feel like maybe there's a little bit more to it, right? Because it's capitalized, it's like proper, it's not not like, oh, it's a magic spell book, it's like, it's capitalized in the middle, right? It's proper noun, or it's a proper whatever. Anyway, perform magical spells, charms, divination, how to summon, invoke supernatural entities. Guys, they're going to be able to summon. You're going to be able to summon monsters in Summoner's War. It's very, very exciting. Finally, we got a monster that summons. Well, actually, there's other monsters that summon other things. Like, for example, the Onmyuji's summon, like, she summons, like, a frog or whatever. But we see, the little fox thing on the side of the Onmyuji. It's, like, her little buddy. It doesn't really do too much. I mean, it's maybe in some of the animations, but it really doesn't do too much aside from that, right? So maybe I'm overthinking this crow thing, right? Many cases, the books themselves are believed to be imbued with magic powers, although in many cultures, other sacred texts. I feel like the book in general is just going to be a big part of their skills. Like, they're probably going to open the book and flip the pages, and then magical whatever's, like, little sparks are going to fly out, and then whatever thing is going to actually happen with that, right? So, yeah, just a little bit more info on the grimoire. I already mentioned this little guy over here. Let's take a look at some of the similar units. Can you guys see that? Let's take a look at some of the similar units and see what they do, and then try to theorycraft what I think the mages will do based on that. So we have the witches. A lot of people are already like saying, oh, these are probably just going to be a better version of the witches, which does make sense. No pun intended, which does make sense. Kind of sad that we might not see a 2A now based on the fact that they're, or maybe we do see a 2A based on the fact that we're seeing these mages. Maybe Consoles wants to go a little bit more on the 2A side. Or maybe this was initially the 2A for the witches, and they decided, they're like, you know what, this is so good, let's just make it its own unit, let's not make the 2As for the witches, right? Maybe it was too good, and maybe that's why. Maybe the animations were too good, or the skills were too good, and they were like, this is too good for a 2A, man. Too good for a 2A. So we have some buffs. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what all the different Mystic Witches do. Of course, you're familiar with the water one, I'm sure. Attack and defense break. She's got a strip and block beneficial effects, right? So she's got buffs. She's got debuffs. The fire one has an AoE defense break. The fire one also has a cleanse and a heal. The light one has a soul protect. She also has, I think, an AoE defense break. The dark one has a strip and block beneficial effects. The dark one also has an AoE sleep that never works. This is not a great scale. And then the wind one has a strip into a block beneficial effect. She also has an AoE defense break, just as a recap of what the different Mystic Witches do. But they have buffs and they have debuffs, right? So I'm kind of going on previous units that are similar in the kind of mage classification for the game, and like what the other similar units of a similar style, of a similar feel, do, right? So we see these are not damage dealing units, these are not DPS units, they are buffer, debuffer, support style units, right? So then we have the Druid. So the Druid is kind of different. The Druid is kind of like a damage dealing mage, right? So he's mage like support, he also does damage. He's got the fire one does many debuffs right on the enemy team. The light one does strips into glancings and provokes. The fire one does provokes, it does defense breaks, it does continuous damage. Light one does continuous damage too. The dark one and the dark one does cleanses and immunity. The water one does heals and also has provokes. I mean, they all kind of have provokes, don't they? Wind one has, but they're either debuffers for the enemies. Some of them are buffers for the enemies, and some of them are buffers for your team, support type units. But these are kind of like a little bit more different because they're kind of like damage dealing. But they're kind of like mages of the forest, really, if you think about it. Anyway, then these ones are kind of similar to like mage style of units, right? Not more of aggressive damage dealing units. Whereas we think of like the Street Fighter units, those are the more aggressive damage dealing DPS units. These ones, they don't, a lot of them that I'm going to show you right now don't really do damage. They're more of like support, buffers, debuffers, and I think that this is where we're going to see the mage fit in. These mages are probably going to be buffers and debuffers. They're probably not going to be. Watch, I'm completely wrong, and they're like, mages punch you in the face. And like, why? Why do they count to us? Like, because we just want you to be wrong. So all of the mages have boxing gloves, and they punch the enemies directly in the face for ignore defense damage. I'm like, I quit this game. I quit this game. Anyway. On Myoges, we did see some new debuffs with the on Myoges, right? The on Myoges, they're new Nat 5s. They have the new debuffs. The Dark one has 2 new debuffs. The Wind one has the Wind and the Fire one. I should know this. I have them, right? The Wind and the Fire one also have the different debuff. I literally was just reading it before this video, and I already forgot what they're called. The debuffs where they take half HP. You know what I'm talking about, right? So we have a few new debuffs from these units. Some of them are kind of not as amazing as they could be. I'm sure they will get a buff at some point in the future, who even knows when, but it's basically their debuff-oriented units, right? The water ones brings all the debuffs back, but they're kind of like more Asian style of like magical type of unit. Again, they're not DPS, they're not damage dealing units, not DPS, damage dealing units. Art Masters are kind of like mage style of units, like they're a little bit more on the aggressive side of mages, right? They have a new debuff, they have the scrolls, they have, they're very buff and debuff oriented. The fire one's got the buffs for your team. He also has strips. The water one has strips into glancings. The wind one has strips into glancings and defense breaks, AoE attack gauge, reduction. The dark one's got buffs, immunity, threat state. The light one's got the scroll as well. So there's, number 1, new debuffs. And number 2, they're very buff and debuff oriented as a mage style of unit, right? The String Masters have new mechanics. They have the song state, right? So I'm wondering if we see something kind of like the String Masters. Maybe I should get into this in the next slide or whatever. But I'm wondering if we kind of see a different, like a spell casting state. Maybe I'm thinking too much into it. Maybe we don't see it. But since they did it with the String Masters, I think that we could see something like that. Because they have new, every time they're doing these new units lately, they're doing some kind of new mechanics or new kind of way that they do buffs. Like these ones are a different way that they do buffs. Like when you get, like the fire one, for example, attack power buffs when they get their turns, and then different way of doing debuffs, right? Like for the enemies, instead of block beneficial effects with the water one, she just has her song state where the enemies just doesn't have any beneficial effects, right? So we could see some kind of new mechanics as far as buffs or debuffs. I feel like this is what we're going to see, is some kind of new mechanic for buffs or debuffs based on the classification of these units. A lot of these have buffs and debuffs, right? They're not damage dealing units. They're just support units that just do buffs and debuff kind units. But again, they're not very aggressive physical damage dealer units or tank type units. They're more support units, right? So this is what I'm guessing from, I hope you guys could see the other things before. But this is what I'm guessing from the mages, what we're probably going to see. Probably new mechanic, probably putting monsters under spells or new kind of buffs or debuffs. So I got basically kind of covered this. Most likely heavy buffers and debuffers based on classification and analysis of similar previous units we kind of basically talked about that. And then also, why do I always have to make things way too long? It's 15 minutes. I thought this... Anyway, potentially animation centering around their book of spells, possibly Crow's summoning. Interesting that they put I'll come for... Where was that they put that? I think that they put that... yeah, I'll come for your soul. So I thought that was an interesting way of phrasing it. Like, why the day the Grimoire opens, I'll come for your soul? Why the soul? So I thought that was interesting enough to, like, kind of... More so than the little mage hut, I thought it was interesting to, like, kind of think about this phrasing, how they phrase this, right? That there's something having to, like, they want to make sure that you know that the book is important somehow. And then I'll come for your soul. Maybe there's something with that, right? Maybe there's a little bit something more to that, right? Seems worded deliberately. Do we finally see... I mean, I want to see a charm unit. If you guys are familiar with, like, the Final Fantasy games or, like, other RPGs, there's charm units in there where, like, you cast a spell on the unit and you charm it, and then it's like, oh, and then it fights for you and it starts hitting its enemies or stuff. What about a charm spell? Maybe that's like you can't even cleanse it or anything like that. Where, like, let's say the enemy has, like, I don't know, Perna and Jean or Jean or whatever and Chandra, right? And you charm the Perna, and then the Perna starts hitting the Jean on their team. I think that, I mean, it's in other RPGs. I'm kind of like, I always thought it would be cool to see in Summoner's War, but I'm curious to see if we see something like that. There's so much that they could do with these mages. There's genuinely so many different things that they could do with them. Just like any debuffs, like they could summon different units. They could have cauldrons. They could have, I don't know. Well, they did have a cauldron in the little mage hut or whatever, right? But they could have those. I think that we're gonna see, like, definitely definitely spells coming from the book. The book's probably gonna be, like, super relevant as far as, like, their skills. Like, they're probably gonna do everything out of the book. But we'll see. I'm curious to see what they are, but I definitely think they're going to be more support units, maybe support with a little bit of damage, kind of like the like more of aggressive support units, similar maybe to the Art Masters. Now people say, oh, if they're like the Art Masters, we're all going to need to summon them. So I'm curious, but I think that we're definitely going to see some new buffs or new mechanics of some kind. New buffs, new debuffs, new mechanics of some kind. We're going to see more of support debuffers instead of just, like, raw damage dealing units. And I'm pretty positive they're not going to be tank units, right? So they may have, like, balanced stats. They'll probably got to have more like balanced stats, I would assume. But anyway, that's just my take on it. I wanted to get little slides for you guys and give you a little bit more since we're a little late. And again, I apologize for being so late to the party. But anyway, that's my thoughts for the new units. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Save your summons. No one's going to be on Saturday morning summons this week. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Saturday morning, I don't know. Saturday morning, let's make meatballs. Anyway, that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you as always in... Let me know what you think in the comments. Like, do you think I'm completely wrong, or you think that, like, some of it has merit, right? Anyway, that's it for this one. See you as always in the next one.